Broadway vlog viewers. Today we are very lucky to have with us Miss Ann Harada, and she is a Broadway veteran, Broadway, off-Broadway, Broadway-based TV shows, got everything. So many of you may know her from Seussical, Avenue Q, 9 to 5, Cinderella, Smash, and most recently Brooklynite. Yes. So kind of to begin with Brooklynite, which I was lucky to see you in, which is wonderful. What was it like to be back at the Vineyard? Because that's where Avenue Q began.
I sort of think of the Vineyard as my home theater because I've done so many shows there.
Yeah.
A lot of new musicals that none of you have ever heard of, and then of course Avenue Q that was very popular and remains so. So to me, it's the place where I sort of cut my teeth as a musical theater actress in New York, and I'm very fond of it. And it was great to go back with a new show.
Wonderful. What was it like transferring with Avenue Q from the Vineyard to Broadway?
The whole thing was kind of a dream because none of us really thought that was going to be a good idea at all. We were so convinced that it only was going to work in a very, very small house like the Vineyard. And it was such an intimate show, you know, it relies so much on being able to see the puppets, obviously. And so we weren't convinced at all that it would run on Broadway, and we thought this was the stupidest idea in the world, and we were all very, very wrong, we're happy to say. But at the time, I remember thinking, that's bananas.
Yeah.
You know, we were just so excited that anybody thought the show was as funny as we thought it was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everything's funny when you're hanging out with your friends, and you just don't know if anybody else is going to see it the same way.
Right. Were there a lot of changes in...
Every minute.
Every minute?
Yeah. Yeah.
Up until opening
I
night?
can't even tell you how many trees we killed and how many songs got lost. And yeah, every day we changed it.
Was there anything you were particularly sorry to see go?
I was really fond of the Jury Duty song, Tear It Up and Throw It Away.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
No, but I'm sure it's online, I'm sure you can hear it. And there was so many other like little bits, and the characters all changed so much. We all went through like a million different, you know, jobs.
Right.
But ultimately what started from the very first readings to Broadway and off Broadway is that the characters were all really loving and identifiable and flawed and very human. And so we were, you know, we as actors were very into our characters because we felt like we could really make something of them.
It's beautiful. You got to develop them for that audience. That's great. So we have sprinkled throughout a couple of questions from our Instagram followers. So this one is from Allison on Broadway, and this user wanted to know, what was it like working with the cast of Cinderella? And because you were with it for almost the whole run.
Yes.
So what was that experience?
What was it like? Making Cinderella was in some ways similar to Avenue Q in that a bunch of the original cast were together for a long time prior to the Broadway production. They had been doing readings of it, and there were different drafts of it, and so we, you know, would periodically get together and do a reading or a backwards audition or something. It felt like every few months we'd all be together. So by the time we started rehearsal, we were already a family, and we were, you know, I would say that group of people was like the all-stars of comedy and fun, and that we trusted each other a lot in terms of like, would you watch this scene? I feel like I'm doing something wrong, or I could get a laugh here. And I've been in very few companies where people felt that comfortable to say like, give me a hint, help me out.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you kind of compete on each other.
Right, and trust, that kind of trust. I loved that company very, very much. And you know, as new people came in, you know, it was still fun. It just like everything alters a little bit with each new group. And so, you know, the show that I ended up playing on my last night didn't seem that much like the show I had played on my first night. But, you know, it's because they had such different relationships with all the different actors. And not that it was worse or, you know, it was just different.
Right.
But it was, you know, a thrill all the way through to work with, you know, people like that. And I just felt it was a wonderful mix of old pros and young newbies, and always from the very beginning. And I just felt, you know, I just thought it was a very wonderful time.
Thank you. Another Instagram question from Natalie Carter, with lots of R's.
Carter.
What was it like to play an evil stepsister? And do you have any dream roles for the future?
Oh, I have a million dream roles. First of all, I don't think of her as evil. I think, it wasn't like she was actively trying not, to stop Cinderella from getting to the prince. I feel like she was delusional. I feel like she was extremely self-involved. I feel like she had no idea what was happening in the real world. But I don't think she was evil. I'm just gonna say that right now. I'm sorry, what was the question? I loved her because she was me. So much of her was me and based on me and what I do, my dream roles, this is going so well. I really, really want to play Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly someday. I think that would be a really great fit. And of course, I want to play Mrs. Lovett and Rose in Gypsy, because those are the roles that every alto wants to play. And it's so tedious, and I would think of different ones, but those are just the ones. Basically, if Angela Lansbury touched it, I'd like to play it.
Excellent. What was it like to be a part of Smash, which was a TV show that mostly centers around the lives of those involved with stage shows?
What was it like? It was the greatest opportunity that ever sort of came my way in terms of required very little of me in terms of learning lines. But I got to be on set all the time. Like, I literally had to be in these enormous shots because I was the stage manager. And I had nothing to say for most of the whole time. But I got to be there and watch everybody rehearse and just to watch those numbers being filmed was just so fantastic. And also the people on the show were all amazing. So to be able to hang out with that group of people all the time, hours at a time, eating snacks with them all day was wonderful. For me. For people who had more to do, I'm sure it was exhausting, and tiresome, and, but for me, I had a blast. I had no responsibilities at all.
Well, another Instagram user, Adina is my queen, wanted to know what it was
Fair.
Wanted to know what it was like to be back with the Smash cast recently for the Bombshell concert.
That was the funnest night ever. Because when you're on a TV show, so many times you don't get to be with everybody all the time. It's very rare that I'd be in the same scene with Will Chase or, once the two shows diverge, once Bombshell and Hit List went, then I never saw Jack Davenport again because it depends on what show you ended up with. You know what I mean? Like the days that you would shoot. So in a way, it was like the greatest reunion because we all got to be together in the same room doing the songs that we loved, but we could not be together for a really long time. And I left Smash in the middle of the second season to do Cinderella. I couldn't do both. So for me, it was just a great chance to see everybody again and with this music that we all were madly in love with, and to be able to sort of celebrate that and our experience of being together at the time.
Do you have any favorite backstage or off-camera stories you'd like to share?
Favorite backstage or off-camera stories? I have a lot of stories. I don't know that I need to share them. I feel like
no pressure.
They're some of them are just embarrassing. I think that I will tell you the moment that happened to me on stage that was the most embarrassing / amazing moment of my career, which was when I was doing God of Carnage at the George Street Playhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with God of Carnage. It's a play where one of the characters has to throw up on stage. That was me. That was my character.
Of course.
And we had no understudies. And as we were starting the show, I started to feel really, really sick. But I couldn't say anything because we had no understudies. And we had all gone out for Ethiopian food in the break. And so I thought, no, that's fine, I didn't think that was going to be a problem. But as we started to talk, I could feel myself getting really sweaty and nauseous. And I was like, I'm really going to throw up on this stage. And then I thought, maybe I can wait till page 33 when I'm supposed to throw up on the stage. So that's basically what I did. I just waited till my character had to fake throw up. We did the fake throw up. Then I knew the other woman was going to bring me a plastic basin to throw up some more. And when she came with it and I actually threw up in it, then you could see her and everybody else on stage go like,
Oh, dear.
and everybody sort of went into panic mode as
Yeah.
much as we could without breaking the
Right.
flow of the play. And again, in a couple of pages, I did get to leave stage to clean up.
Right.
You know, little did everybody know I really was cleaning up, and it was a terrible, terrible thing that happened. But just that I was able to hang on to my vomit for that long,
Yeah.
I thought was a really amazing experience.
Pretty impressive.
And I don't recommend it to anyone. Don't do it. No.
But show must go on.
If I had an understudy, I would have been out of there.
Yeah. Well, okay. When did you first notice your passion for theater, and were there any soundtracks that you listened to or still listen to frequently?
Yes. When did I first notice my passion for theater? Well, I always loved it. I always loved going to the theater. And I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I saw the 6th graders do a play. And I couldn't believe that it was so good. You know, I couldn't believe that young kids were capable of that kind of performing. And I was like, oh, that is amazing. And so as I got older and I would, you know, I was in 6th grade and I'd go to the high school play and I'd be like, they're like professionals, you know. And 2 of them went on to win Tonys. So I was like, so obviously they were really good, but still, I was like, dang, you know, this is an amazing thing. And but I was shy and I didn't really know that I could do it. But I went with my friend to audition for the high school play.
Remember what it was?
The Importance of Being Earnest in 9th grade, and I got in it, and she didn't get in it. But I got to play one of the butlers, and from then on, I just never stopped. I just loved it.
What about any soundtracks you listen to or still do?
Obsessively. I listened to everything Stephen Schwartz put out. Godspell. I saw the movie, and I bought the, you know, soundtrack. And I saw it. And my first Broadway show was Pippin, and I bought that. And you know, all the early Andrew Lloyd Webber I listened to obsessively because I grew up like in the, you know, I was listening to all this sort of like in the late 70s, early 80s. So it's like Vina, it's Great Superstar, and like that. All of those shows. And then in high school, my 2 best friends were Sondheim freaks, and they turned me on to that.
Good friends.
So yeah, all that, all those albums. Over and over and over. Albums, that's how old I am.
And what about now? Are there any that have kind of grown with you in your collection of what you listen to?
I don't really sit down and listen to original cast recordings like beginning to end anymore. I just don't have the time for that. But I still respond to the same people I always responded to. You know, it's like I still love listening to Broadway shows, but I just sort of kind of pick my songs, or I'm in a mood, I feel like hearing Adina yell, you know what I mean, or whatever it is, and then I just sort of go like that. Yeah.
Well, you already answered this question. What was your first Broadway show? So it was Pippin. And when was that?
1976.
Excellent.
I was little.
Good.
Yeah.
And it really left an impression on you?
It really did. I've never gotten over Michael Rupert. He was Pippin. I love him.
Do you have a favorite underappreciated show or show that you think most people should expose themselves to that they might not already know about?
I don't know if it's underappreciated, but I have to say William Finn's Falsettos. Okay. Because that's such an important show to me. And it, you know, I did Falsetto Land with an all-Asian company here in the city, and that was something that got a lot of attention and sort of put me on the map in some ways. So it means a lot to me as just a performer, but also just as a human. I love that show, and I just think it should be on everybody's top 10 list.
Have you ever found yourself starstruck by someone in your audience or at an event?
Constantly. I am often starstruck. When I met Hugh Jackman at the Tony Awards 2004, I don't think I said a coherent word. But if you met him in person, you wouldn't either. That's how I sort of feel like you can't believe his body in person. You think you know. There's a reason why movie stars are movie stars. They're just exponentially more gorgeous than the normal person. And
in person too, it's not an illusion, they're real.
No, that's real. That's real. Like, you know, like his chest is really broad and it goes down, his waist is really narrow. And you know what I'm saying? And he's tall. And you're like, sure, that's fine. But you don't know until like you see it in person. You're so used to seeing it on screen where everything is so like, oh yeah, everybody's perfect and pretty all the time.
Right.
But it's not as different in person when you're among like normal people. It's just incredible.
Good.
It's boggling.
Are you working on anything now that you can tell us about?
No.
Okay. And then,
I mean, I could tell you about it, but you wouldn't care. I'm not. I'm not working on a big project at all. I have a bunch of little gigs coming up, and yeah.
So exciting.
And of course, my benefit for Broadway Cares that I do as often as I can. Christmas Eve with Christmas Eve is happening this year, so please come and see that. December 14th at the Cutting Room.
Be sure to give that a shout out. And will you be at Broadway Fleet this weekend?
You know that I will.
Good. I'll see you there for that too. What do you like to do with your free time, if you ever have any?
What do I like to do with my free time? I like to read, and I like to cook, and I like to arm knit, and I like to arrange flowers. I like very kind of domestic, quiet things. I feel like so much of my professional life is like being funny, which is an impossible task. That I just really like to be as small as possible on my free time.
It's nice that you can have that time to recover and recharge.
Yeah.
Very nice. And then last question, are there any particular shows you're excited for this season?
I'm excited for all of them. I haven't seen anything. So I did just see Spring Awakening, which I loved. And I just saw Daddy Longlegs, which I loved. I have Hamilton tickets next month, so going to that.
Gonna love it.
And there's so many great things coming up this year that of course, I'm excited about the whole season. Yeah, no, I mean, it looks amazing this year.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Tell us about Ask Us?
Just that I think it's awesome that people care about the theater, even if they don't live right near here. When I was growing up in Hawaii, I would have killed for something like this. Now the world is we're so close, and everybody can reach everybody, and you can tweet a message to me, and I can answer you. That's awesome. So I would basically just say, like, don't be afraid to, like, do what you want.
Words of wisdom. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Why would a fellow want a girl like her, a frail and fluffy beauty? Why can't a fellow ever once prefer a solid girl like me? She's a frothy little bubble with a flimsy kind of charm.